Shrimadbhagavatam, the Divine Grace, founder of Iskana Bhai, Charanatam, and the Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Grantara Shrimadbhagavatam ki. Their most merciful Lordship, Shri Shivadakunja Bihari ki. Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev, Mai Subhadra ki. Shri Nathaji, Shri Balagopal ki. Shri Varnitai ki. Yitai go Prema. All praise to the assembled. All praise to the assembled. All praise to the assembled. All praise to the Lord, the Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Guru. Reading from text 45. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devam Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Todayam Udiraye
Tato Jayamudiraye
Nastaprayashu Bhadreshu
Nastaprayashu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki.
Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 45. Sa Esha
Isha
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Drona
Drona
Saesha Bhagavan Drona
Saesha Bhagavan Drona
Raja
Raja
Rupena
Rupena
Vartate
Vartate
Raja Rupena Vartate
Raja Rupena Vartate
Tasyatmano
Tasyatmano
Ardham
Ridam
Patni
Patni
Aste
Aste
Tasyatmano Ardham Patni Aste
Tasyatmano Ardham Patni Aste
Nanbagat
Nandavat
Dirasu
Virasu
Kripi
Kripi
Nanbagat Dirasu Kripi
Nanvagat
Virasu Kripi
Saesha Bhagavan Drona Saesha Bhagavan Drona Saesha Bhagavan Drona
Saesha Bhagavan Drona
Raja Rupena Vartate
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 Tasyatmanortha Patniyaste
Tasyatmano Ardham Patni Aste
Tasyatmanortham Patniyaste
Tasyatmano Ardham Patni Aste
Tasyatmanortham Patniyaste
Tasyatmano Ardham Patni Aste
Nanbagat Virasu Kripi
Nanmagat Virasu Kripi
Nanbagat Virasu Kripi
Nanmagat Virasu Kripi
Nanbagat Virasu Kripi.
Nanmagat Virasu Kripi
Please chant.
Saesha Bhagavan Drona
Saesha Bhagavan Drona
Raja Rupena Vartate
Raja Rupena Vartate
Tasyatmano Ardham Patni Aste
Tasyatmanordham Patniyaste
Nanmagat Virasu Kripi
Vanbhagad Virasu Kripi Saesha Bhagavan Drona Raja Rupena Vartate Tasyatmanordham Patniyaste Nanbhagad Virasu Kripi Sa E Isa certainly Bhagavan Lord Drona Dronacharya Raja Rupena
Raja Rupena
in the form of his son Ashvatam
in the form of his son Ashvatam
Vartate
Vartate
is existing
existing
Tasya
Tasya
is
is
Atmana
Atmana
of the body
body
Ardham
Ardham
half Patni
Patni
wife
Wife
Aste
Aste
living
Living
Na
Na
not
Not
Anvagat
Anmagat
undertook
undertook
Virasu
Virasu
having the sun present
having the son present
Kripi
Kripi
the sister of Kripacharya
sister of
Saesa Bhagavan Drona Praja Rupena Kartate Tasyatmanordham Patniyaste Nanvagat Virasu Kripi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Abhay Charananavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shrimadbhagavatam. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. Please repeat. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing,
certainly still existing,
being represented by his son.
being represented by his son.
His wife Kripi
His wife Kripi
did not undergo a sati
did not undergo a sati
with him
with him
because she had a son.
because she had a son.
He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife, Kripi, did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. Purport. By his divine grace, Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The wife of Dronacharya, Kripi, is the sister of Kripacharya, a devoted wife, who is, according to revealed scripture, the better half of her husband, is justified in embracing voluntary death along with her husband if she is without issue. But in the case of the wife of Dronacharya, she did not undergo such a trial because she had her son, representative of her husband. A widow is a widow only in name if there is a son of her husband existing. So in either case, Ashvatam was the representative of Dronacharya, and therefore killing Ashvatam would be like killing Dronacharya. That was the argument of Draupadi against the killing of Ashvatam. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshutin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Now, it is suggesting here that this would leave Kripi, Dronacharya's wife, alone. And so Draupadi, thinking like that, putting herself in Dronacharya's wife's shoes, she is feeling the suffering that this would cause upon her, which she is feeling is unjustified. That it's not her fault that now she would be left alone by herself. So, in our society, there are, hospice places where senior citizens are. They call them senior citizen homes for the senior citizens, the elderly, where the elderly are taken care of. But because there is not the application of Dharma, the application of Krishna conscious principles, or even religious principles, for the most part in society as there should be, then the elderly are not represented for the knowledge that they have gained. They're represented as the work they can't do anymore. And they get put aside. And in the minds of many people, this is what they want to do when they retire. They want to do nothing. They want to sit around, watch the TV or whatever. But retirement life, what we would call sannyas, retiring from society, then that means putting aside all the future desires and plans that we have for ourselves and using that time instead for promoting the concepts that are lacking in the world that the world needs to have presented to it, so that we can leave it somewhat better than it was before we came. This is the example Srila Prabhupada left, isn't it? Changed, you could say, the whole world. How many temples there are in the world now, and in each, just for example, like the United States, practically speaking, any state in the Union, you can go to a temple and get a meal at the Hare Krishnas. When we're out there doing business with people, this is a really good way to introduce people to Krishna consciousness by explaining to them next time they're on a vacation somewhere, remember that they can go for a meal that would be like a home-cooked meal at the Hare Krishnas, rather than the Taco Bell and the other places, which have their place in society when society is functioning properly. And even those places that are meant for places to be eating, they could be transformed from places at the trough to the sin trough. Rather, they would be gaining spiritual benefit. This is why I would have hoped by now we could have developed some sort of union into the public school system to be able for our members to be cooking for the children, because of these formative years that they're in school for. This could very well be a means for the future generations to establish within the governments the ways of Krishna consciousness and the understandings of why people are suffering the way they are. People don't really know why they're suffering. And it seems to people, just like it seems to people when babies are born and then boom, they die out of causation of the mother, and they be bumping into something while she was pregnant or something, or they're deformed like that. And people don't know, why do these things happen? In fact, the book was written, why do bad things happen to good people? At a time when Srila Prabhupada was around. But there are no innocent people. We're ignorant is what we are. Because we have, the reason we are here is because we have previously been involved with the material energy, misusing it to the extent that now we have the punishment of death over our heads. This is true evidence that we're not in the most glorified state yet. We have a long way to go. But with Krishna consciousness, at any moment we can experience that same consciousness that would be experienced in the spiritual world. So what an amazing link we have to be able to find ourselves free from the effects of those things that we have no idea where it's coming from. Because now a devotee fully in full knowledge. Yesterday I was talking to Tom Peel, and it's peculiar when a man reaches a certain age, he has developed such habits, practically speaking, they won't be broken. They won't be broken. And so it makes a person, after having been so accustomed to the traditions of whatever culture he was born into, raised up in, lived his life through, developed a family, gave his family the same traditional beliefs of, these patterns in his mind of what he has been convincing himself is success are very, very difficult to break. But when children from very young ages, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, are being taught the very basic principles of Krishna consciousness, there's nothing for them to break. There's no habits for them to have to break. When they get 10, 11 years old, they can become so grounded in Krishna conscious philosophy that they don't have the attraction to the material energy, taking drugs and, having illicit sex and all these things. Planned marriage in India, nothing's perfect the way things are set up, especially in this age that we're born into. But if one sits and analyzes what function marriage has, and as well what is required of a relationship, it would seem reasonable to estimate that the parents have more knowledge at the age of 18 about what is good and bad for the child, who is 18 years old, than the child has for themselves. They can recognize aspects of the child that the child doesn't even conceptualize in his mind as being characteristics that he's revealing as well. So this science of fixed marriages, or appointed marriages by the mother and father, it's not by the mother and father, it's by the world calculations of the universe, who the soul favors, what rulers in the universe the soul is favoring. And according to that particular aspect of the person's reading at the time of their birth, it can be recognized which houses they are leaning more towards the surrender of, therefore developing those kinds of aspects in their life more so than others would be leaning towards. And so another one born at a different time, the opposite gender, of course, then it would be known as well by their time that they were brought into the world, what characteristics they would have. And so in this way, the sages of old, passing down the science of Brigu, which ultimately this is the science of Brigu, knowing the astrological calculations of parties before they come together. Because most young people in the United States are instructed by their parents out of a societal custom that by dating and going out with one another and by determining themselves their own compatibility then, which we see in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, the highest divorce rate in the world. So if we do see, they take so many, how can you say, senses about population behavior and don't know what to do with them. They see it as a problem. How long has this divorce problem been going on and increasing without it being recognized as a weakness in society? And so who is bringing to society's knowledge the awareness of how marriages should be linked up? We just don't go out into the world trying to satisfy the senses of our body and using that as a judgment on how well someone can satisfy us for the rest of our lives. There is a profession called acting. And believe it or not, everybody's doing it. You act one way in your family, then you go out to impress a job, a boss who you're going to have a job with. Then you have to give him an impression of somebody that you're really not. But you're going to pretend that you're going to be like that for him while you work for him, right? It's a form of acting. And of course, we take on different roles in society. So in effect, we have to change the shoes we walk in from time to time. And in normal society, in fact, Krishna explains that there are certain participation of events in normal society's lives that the whole of society, when society is functioning properly, they share and celebrate those steps and moments of the human being's development together. Were you going to ask something, right?
No, Shakespeare said all the world's a stage and we are merely actors.
We're the actors, yeah. And we make plans that we hope our lives will turn into. So people have their 5-year plan. And most people will find out you can't write your own script. And that's because of karma. Curious to know then. The suggestion might be there then. If a devotee is free from karma, can he write his own script?
Say that again.
If a soul is free from karma, can he write his own script then?
I would say so if you're free from karma.
Now here's a peculiar thing I was reading in the 5th canto. When the universe is first created, there's not living entities in it. So it has to be populated. So Krishna empowers living entities to be able to have lots of children, thousands of children. And so he empowered Prajapati, Daksha, to bring forth 1,000 sons.
Minor.
No, he was with his wife, through the progeny way we consider normal. And at the end, when they matured, they came into contact with Narad Muni. Now, Prajapati was already thinking of their wives, who their wives would be, who they would marry. But when Narad Muni got a hold of them, they all turned into brahmacharis.
Okay. Okay.
So he had 1,000 more children, hoping that now these would carry on family life to populate the universe. Happened again.
Okay.
So this Narad Muni, he's one for renunciation, as you can see.
Okay.
He likes to step into the future when he's already seen what's going to happen, and then give people little hints about what's going to take place, and even what would seem like prodding the demons to go on ahead and, perform these, what would seem like demon activities. But he's all aloof of that because he's making Krishna's pastimes happen. And he's taking part with Krishna as a friend. So here, we have actors. Dronacharya is playing the part of a teacher, of a father, and of a husband at the same time in this one sentence. Dronacharya is certainly still existent, being represented by his son. So there he's a father. His wife, now he's a husband, Kripi, did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. Now, it is explained in Ayurveda how a man produces a male. It's explained in Ayurveda how a man produces a woman. So, if this science of Ayurveda is fully known by the inhabitants of the planet, there will be, according to the desires of the husband and wife, brought into the world the amount of male and female that they have desires to bring into the world. But this science is not known. Science is being looked at by present modern medicine practitioners, so-called doctors, who are not healing medicine, they are not giving healing medicine, as primitive, being looked at as that which is not as advanced as present day is. Yet, there's surgeries able to transform, put one head on another being's body, which they do not presently have now. So whose medicine is more advanced, one could ask and query.
Right.
And so many cures revealed in Ayurveda are all such that does not require a person to have to spend a third to a tenth of their paychecks on their worth every month, every day. No.
Mataji told me about a mudra.
Mudra?
A mudra.
Yeah.
For hernia.
A mudra.
A mudra. So I had to Google it.
So you meditate on the mudra while you're...
No,
Hand position.
hand position, hand posture.
Mudra.
Mudra.
Oh, a hand posture.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking of yantra. Sorry.
No, yantras
Yeah.
are diagrams.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Mudra.
move on the hand position.
That's
See, yantras,
tantra too.
yantras are pictures
Right.
which, when meditated upon properly, if they are given by, I believe it's the Kabbalah, it gives the guru connected to the Kabbalah for the sake of transcendence. This is, I believe this was given by Lord Buddha. But these deliver the mind, and what you see, and if you ever looked at a mirror and a reflection behind, if you stand over there, you can see an endless reflection, right? And these yantras are of that nature. They give you your mind, the creative force the mind has, the ability to create a view of eternity, like that, reflected over and over and over and over and over again. And as it's reflected in history, it repeats itself the same way. We're looking at that reflection in the mirror. And so this is how one can be brought to the knowledge of Trikalikya, especially once you live to be 1,000 years old, 10,000 years old, 100,000 years old. You see a repetition going on because karma is pretty much the forces of nature, which is behind everything taking birth and manifesting the way that it is. So, one could say, well, Krishna's forcing everything to be the way he wants it to be. But Srila Prabhupada says, no, just because he knows how it's going to be doesn't mean he's forcing it to be that way. We still have free will. But he knows by the thoughts in our minds what the effects will be on the material energy. So a lot of these yogis, they're trying to find removal by knowing that karma exists. But just sitting, if the mantra is not, you can chant Coca-Cola and see what it gets you. Maybe suddenly a bottle of Coca-Cola appears. What do you have? Is that liberation? So we can know by experience that what we have come to find by the chanting of these holy names, in the chanting of the holy names, is the supreme, divine, most connection. And I always say, because I'm open, and I have looked everywhere I thought possible to find God, under every crook and cranny, they may say. And so still, what I have found, I am right now believing to be the most superior form of consciousness the human being is capable of experiencing. When you read these pastimes, and each and every paragraph having such deep philosophical implications as far as the soul's need to understand principles and precepts in order to come to a level of reasoning where love in its purest form can actually manifest, which is the purpose of human life. Love manifesting. Humans. And sometimes we see amongst the animal kingdom, animals displaying more affection for their young than human beings are. This is not supposed to be like that. Human beings are supposed to be the ones empowered to buy their dominion of the things in the world. The things of the world are benefited. The world itself, the earth itself is benefited. All parts of society are benefited. The laws that are given to society benefit the society. Don't bind the society into impossible. My mother used to say, if your father reported everything you went and report on your taxes, there wouldn't be anything left for food. Some cases, people fight like that just to get by and to make a living. So why make it difficult for people to have their own business? But you have to jump through so many hoops and ladders. You got to buy this license. You got to buy a sales license. If you want to have a job, if you want to have a business,
big headache.
you got to go downtown Tell them you're having a business. Now register your name, and you got to go to the bank, open up an account in that name so that they don't charge you when they sue the company that you're creating. You got to create an LLC, limited liability capacity or whatever it is.
This is like insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, for real.
Well, then when you get the building, then you got to buy insurance too. And then you got to have insurance so the people that come in, and the fire might burn down and burn them, and then they're going to sue you. It's just a big
Headache.
Yeah. Society, rather than working for the benefit of each other, the mentality they have with the false ego works against each other. It works against each other's benefit and makes life more difficult. Really. Whether I want to engage in a war or not, I have to. Whether I believe in the principles of that or not. And yet I'm being told I'm living in a free country. And so these freedoms and these so-called rights we have are rather better looked at as privileges given by God, to the extent that we use them properly, because they can be just as well removed. My father, 66 years old, they cut his tongue off, cursing God practically every day of his life after 40, 50 years old. And it is evidence of what happens by the laws of nature set. So the very tongue that we think of as able to manifest anything we want it to manifest, it is described as the very rudder or the guide of the soul. So what comes out of that tongue very much has to do with the determining factor of what our next environment will be. So then, analyzing as just normal human beings as we are, what is the most amazing, wonderful environment we'd like to be put into rather than this where we see death happening every day? That would be a place where there is eternity going on. And that's what Krishna is saying there is. More than just believing there is, though, we have to take the necessary steps to get there. Same way following the map. And what are the steps? Chant 16 rounds a day, take only Krishna Prasadam, speak only those things to glorify God, giving that we have learned that is our greatest treasure, love of God, to everyone we come in contact with, in whatever form we can find them capable of accepting. Because not everybody will take prasadam. And we found even as well, when you're out preaching, you run into every kind of person. You run into vegans, you run into vegetarians, you run into carnivorous people. And coming to the temple on Sunday, you will find some vegans more picky and will, I can't eat that thing. No, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. A meat eater, just pile it on.
Yeah.
Fill up the plate, So the acceptance, then that puts him in a mood of acceptance. And see, what this is also distinguishing is that there are innocent ignorance. If that makes sense. Innocent ignorant.
Okay.
And there are guilty ignorant. They know what's wrong, they do it anyways. Innocent ignorant, they're doing it, they don't think of it as wrong. Eating meat used to be considered a necessity of life. You gotta eat meat or you're gonna die. That's the philosophy was promoted 50 years ago. I know, I was living it. I was taught that in school, grade school. 7 years old, they're teaching you these things. You gotta eat meat, you will die.
Meat and 2 vegetables.
And vegetables.
I'm eating 2 vegetables.
And 2 vegetables, meat at every meal. See, once a person starts developing spiritual consciousness, it's almost automatic they're going to see problems being created in the material world that don't need to be there, that really don't need to be problems. And it's all created. It mostly gets back to the false ego. The very thing predominantly moving people who have gained such control of the false ego that they can affect other people in their immediate is the very acts they think are going to produce a particular reaction or the exact opposite of what's going to come to them in the end of it all. And Scripture says, in the beginning, tastes very sweet, but in the end, it's very bitter. So this is describing sinful activity, describing like the taste of alcohol. First drink might have some sweetness there to it. In fact, see, you know what? This is where we can see the difference between innocence and ignorance, because if we knew what alcohol was, we wouldn't want to put it in our bodies. If we wouldn't drink our own urine, then for sure we're not going to drink the urine of bacteria, which is what alcohol is. And bacteria are the lowest forms that I know of life, if they can be called living beings. They reproduce, don't they? Bacteria. So, I don't know, maybe Hitler's made it to that stage now. After hell, you come down, you start in the lowest place. So we could, if we want to get alcoholic, then we can be drinking the piss of Hitler.
Nice.
Even if it's not Hitler. To get to the stage of bacteria, they were pretty bad. You can understand they're pretty bad. So this should drive out of any devotee that hears this message the desire to drink alcohol ever again.
Okay.
See, we even think of it as a cleansing agent, don't we? In shampoo, they put urea. You know where urea comes from? The guts of a snake. So they used to have a term for people that sold medicine that didn't work. Snake oil. Medicine, they called it snake oil. And that's actually what they're using in shampoo to clean your hair. Thinking that after you put snake guts on your head, you're going to be clean. See, we have principles. We don't even touch animals because of the nature of the consciousness of the animal. The animals are constantly thinking how to kill something. And their body gives them the ability to do that. When a cat scratches a creature that has blood, the blood goes inside of his nails. And by sitting, it becomes poisonous. That's why when a cat scratches you, immediately you see it welts up, right? Yeah. That's poison blood inside there he's putting inside of you. That's his weaponry. So they are built to do these things. And I was just reading. The laws of nature do not hold them accountable the same way human beings are held accountable for what is considered sinful activity. Because they're purposely put there to not only experience the karma coming to them, but be the executors as well as the karma to others that they are killing. So the ones that they're killing have it coming to them. The ones they're enabled to kill. The lion and the lamb. So we would look at the lion and the lamb if we were going to judge by criminal justice established in the minds of human beings. We would think immediately the lamb, as a vegetarian as well, is in the state of innocence. Doesn't it seem like that? The lion portrayed as the criminal, the big bad wolf, same way. But nature is allowing that lamb to be put into the hands of suffering by this lion. How is that justice? Unless the lamb did something previously to the lion. I mean, let's just reason together, doesn't it? Isn't that what justice is? You get what you got coming to you because you did something. And see, by our own visions, we can't see that past. And that's why it's so necessary because in the law, courts, without knowledge. One mother may say she's my baby, another one will say it's my baby. And without judgment of God, nobody knows except the true mother and God and Krishna. And he knows everything inside of every fight and inside of every living entity that has quarrel with another. Why the outcome has to be like it is, because of the laws of nature. Predestined because of the laws of nature. Preordained that if you cause this much suffering for living entities, then you're going to have so much cause to you to undo that habit you have made of being able to be rewarded by the suffering you've caused the living entity, which is happening. Mafia groups, they feel themselves rewarded by the killing of their enemies, right? They think of it as an reward. In war also, the killing of another human being is a reward, and they chalk it up. You ever seen those aircraft with, they got markings on them,
Right.
which are pictures of how many airplanes they shot out of the sky, or how many, people in battle they believe they've killed. Like that, they're keeping score in that way. And being rewarded accordingly with medals, and being recognized as their fellow human beings as more advanced, all based on one's ability to use the material energy, good or bad. Some cases it's good, some cases it's bad. And so those that are bad can also become just as proficient at using it. That's the problem. There's no screening of the soul. It's not just only spiritual souls that get here. And that's why the spiritual world is untouched and uncontaminated, because it is only those who have developed the consciousness to be able to live there. And we prove that by the activities of our day. If we do want to be in that eternal place, then we'll only engage in those activities that are of that same eternal nature. We might think we'd have to give up everything we're doing now. There's nothing in eternal nature, right? But the consciousness we are engaging in. And we can see, Krishna says that a human being needs recreation even. Now,
Who says this? Krishna.
Krishna.
Human beings need recreation?
Yes. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita.
Wow.
Recreation's there. But here's the thing about recreation. And you will find, I don't know, I have never had more fun than going out in the streets and chanting Hare Krishna. Mm-hmm. And see, that's the devotee's recreation. But if we're not getting that, our psyche is not complete. Same way a child who learns he masters his father's art, right, his craft. There is a part of the development of the human psyche that develops in that child that he will be able to pass on to his son. That children who didn't get that, it has been found by thorough research by universities that this is the effect it has upon the sons of fathers who have been able to pass down their craft. That they become much more equipped mentally, physically, by following in the footsteps of the father than a son that has to go out and do it on his own. I mean, that just makes sense too. And so this is the same way with society. Society is made in such a way that we are all thinking of ourselves as individuals that have to work out their own way, create your own business, this thing, that thing. But even for business, so much cooperation is required. And if people are not cooperating, it is due to the modes of material energy that they're given over to. When you see people constantly arguing, and then when they get done with it, they ask themselves, why do we have to argue about it? because it is the modes of material energy pressing upon them, implying to the mind that certain things have implications of great importance even when they don't. The mind can draw conclusions of that nature based on our experience with the material energy. This is how prejudice is created. This is how fear is created in the dark. Events take place, and then we judge the future by those events we've already had, right? But with Super Soul, don't have to worry about that anymore, because he's always there, and he's always all-powerful. We don't have to worry about going out at night. But that doesn't mean we don't exercise caution. Doesn't mean we don't exercise wisdom. And to know what's the statement as well, we don't tempt God. This is another thing people are doing with proving that they're a man of God. They will perform stunts that other beings can't. This is all false ego, what it is. And it's dangerous. And it's not being thought of as dangerous because everybody is looking at the development of that false ego as the success of life. This is really a mystery that's not going to be seen by those promoting the adept use of the material energy, which is what colleges are. And they're not knowing what they're doing and what effect it's having on society, either the way society is set up and it's not functioning. Education, the way education is set up in Vedic society is, at the young age of 5, children go to the guru and they begin revealing what their parents already knew they were leaning towards, whether they were leaning towards Brahminical or maybe they were leaning towards Vaishya or Sudra or Kshatriya. They already know that. And so then the guru will give them guidance in that particular line that will cause society to function properly, perfectly. And then all of these professions that are created with the well-being of everyone in mind. This is what Manu does. Manu Samhita gives guidance for society to be able to work cooperatively, setting society up into smaller groups than we have come to believe is necessary for government to function, in groups of 100. And we're in groups of millions now. One representative of Michigan is believed to be representing however many people there are in Michigan, right? And it doesn't work, and it's not working. And people don't know why. And people are accrediting it, the government that is right now being considered government, the form it has taken as the greatest form that has ever existed, isn't it?
Yes, they say this.
And yet, look at society. Where are we? Fighting against each other. Crime is way up. Sickness is way up. They haven't conquered these things at the American Medical Association. Cancer's been around since before that thing was created to stop cancer. They still can't do it. Because their very existence depends upon the existence of cancer and every other disease. Society is built on a foundation Christ called sand. Can't stand. And if two people living in the same house can't agree with each other, that house can't stand either. What does it say? A house divided against itself. That's exactly what our form of government is. And they're looking at the division as a form of strength because they're diverse. It's called diverse. Yeah, no, we want to kill each other because we don't believe the same way as each other does. That's not diversity. That's stupidity, ignorance, ruling. It's sad that adult human beings at the age of 50, 60, 70, 80 years old can't reason that there's a better way for society to function than what we're doing right now. Some changes need to be made, for heaven's sake. And exactly for that, for heaven's sake, establish heaven on earth, as it is in heaven. That's what all of God's will is to do, is to give man the ability to function with the suprememost amount of ability, suprememost amount of experience of life in its fullness, and the happiness that can be experienced by the activities of his life. And yet, so many groups of people see God as an intermediator force that causes wars and only causes divisions and causes people hate. What a world we're living in. Mixed up place we are living in. We're living in the asylum. What do they call it? When you can take shelter of this country because of the afflictions from other countries, they call it asylum. But what do they call the place where they store all the people that don't have any sins? They call that the insane asylum. And there's not a whole lot of difference there in the activities going on. In fact, Srila Prabhupada said there's only two people happy in the world: crazy people and devotees.
Okay.
I'm bound for happiness today. I got them both.
Crazy people will laugh at anything, but devotees know you have to laugh. Otherwise, if you let these things trouble you, you'll never be happy. You'll never experience life. So we give it over to Krishna. He's in control. And these things have to work the way they're doing in order for people to be able to become better. It's just like two diamonds in a tumbler. They hit each other's edges, and then pretty soon they come out smooth and beautiful and perfect. So that's the way. Souls are tumbling together, hitting the edges that need to be broken off. Eventually, aloofness will come. It's funny how aloofness can cause cooperation. If I'm not so interested in my own satisfaction and trying to control you to satisfy myself, then I'm going to have less means of disturbing your mind. All right? This is how aloofness works, to cause societal peace, for everyone to have societal peace. In my mind, you can do what you want. I know what the outcome will be, and I'll speak accordingly. But I'm not going to try and force you to do things my way if you don't want to. That's what's being pushed down people's throats in these societies that we're saying are run by tyrants. We're saying they're being controlled by the government to perform activities that they don't want to control. When at the same time, what we are calling the freedom we have to be able to make choices is not exactly freedom either. And we're only going to know freedom when we get out of this material world. That's what the real freedom is. Because that's the nagging. It's the death. The fact there's an end at this life. But see, the end of class means the beginning of Prasadam. Are there any comments, any questions, any realizations?
As we see in Bhagavad Gita, there are like influence of modes of nature on us, like Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, Tamoguna.
Yeah. So,
Due to that, also our actions may be like changing during the course of day or even in the some of our lifetime as well.
there can be some, it's just like Srila Prabhupada said, if a fan is going, get it on high. If you pull the plug out, fan's still going. So we pulled the plug out of the karmic reactions, but we still got some that we built up from millenniums ago. This is why worship of Tulsi is so important, because she can really erase all that stuff of the past. Because, see, We get erased the things we ask for forgiveness of, but what about those things we don't even know we've done wrong? And that's what Tulsi, the things we can't even imagine we've done or even believe in some cases. We might have committed offenses that is just so abominable, we couldn't even believe it if somebody revealed it to us in our past life. And see, Krishna tells us he's also forgetfulness, because for some souls, they have to forget those activities to feel justified to exist. Right? Committed so many abominable activities, it's almost right to justify suicide. But Krishna protects the souls also from those things that are not beneficial for its existence. And this is a form of protection. But we don't see all these acts of nature as forms of protection or reactions of karma generally. Sometimes we call them accidents. Sometimes we just think it's life. Getting old has to be. Any other comments, questions, realizations? God. Actually, it's at 9 o'clock. Stopped on time this morning. Grandra Shrimadbhagavatam. Ija, Srila Prabhupada. Ija.